Good evening and welcome to Dog Talk. I'm Dan Camilleri.
And I'm Laura McKillop. We'd like to start by thanking Enduro High Energy Food for working dogs with real kangaroo meat for supporting our fortnightly dog talk. Tonight we're fortunate enough to be speaking with Dave Crawford from Crawford Collies.
How you go, mate?
Yeah, good. How you guys going?
Not too bad.
Good, thank you. How's your day, buddy?
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad. A little bit of travelling and whatnot, a bit of tidying up and yeah, a few things like that. Yeah,
Mate, I know tonight wasn't the most convenient night, but I just want to thank you for giving us some of your time as well.
that's all good. It's all good. I'm just in trouble with the wife. That's all.
You got to keep her happy, mate. You got to keep her happy. So we'll try to not keep it too long then. Dave, you just want to obviously we've introduced yourself. Do you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself, mate? Where you're from, what you do?
Yep. So yeah, I'm from a little town called Reeds Flat near Cowra, and close to Wangla Dam there. We've got a place there, predominantly sheep. We have had, we look like we've been all cattle and, cattle and sheep, but we're mainly sheep, at the moment. Composites and crossbreds. My wife Louise and our three kids, Grace, Riley, and Harry. Farming that. I guess going back a little bit, I grew up down on a station, my parents' station, down at Moolameen, little town called Moolameen. I'm not sure whether you heard of Moolameen.
What is that?
I've only heard of it. Run a trial down there.
Hey, there's a good 3 sheep trial down there. So on the hay plains down there and grew up there so it's dead flat country and now we're living on pretty steep hilly country, so one extreme to the other. I guess went to school, came out, did a bit of jackarooing. I went to uni for a bit. I didn't go too much on the uni at the time or the course I was doing, so I got out of that and went jackarooing up in the Channel Country for 12 months, and then back to ag college, and then had a mid-year and over to WA on a couple of farms over there, and then a bit of fun overseas after ag college. And then came back to the family farm and been on and off a little bit on the family farm, contracting and a few things like that, and then on Numby, running Numby for the family, and then Lou and I, split from the family business through succession, and here we are. In the rocks, yeah.
Mate, you mentioned the wild country and Numby there, and we've had a couple of people that have worked on there before, like Steve Wayman and Jake, that have mentioned you mentioned wild, like how wild it is, like, and they spoke a bit about the different type of dogs they've needed.
Yeah, like it's funny enough. There's a lot of people that have got a story about Numby, like whether they've come out and Sean or contracted or done something on it's uncanny how people have got memories of Numby. And look, Steve, when I first got there, Steve was really good. He's still good, I just don't catch up with him as much now, but Steve came out and gave us some really good pointers actually, and he's always had a passion for Numby and knows what everyone goes through when they come out. So, I guess when he was in his prime with his dogs, I think he was on Numby. There's just stories about, he used to get, really good dog people out there, and yeah, plenty of stories. And Steve, and then Jake of late, like he's been massive for me. So Jake's had a good stint out here and loves it. Yeah, so those couple of well known people have been really good for me.
And you mentioned uni there. What were you going to study at uni?
I came out of school. Actually, funny enough, I did landmarking at home, and then like this was straight after school, and then I jumped in a Land Cruiser Ute without any aircon, so it was in summer with a couple of girls, and we drove around Australia, and we did it in 6 weeks in a single cab cruiser without any aircon and just a big toolbox and swags on the back, and did it over 6 weeks. It's pretty wild sort of a trip.
That's awesome, though.
And then in that time, Mum sort of, because I was playing up probably too much at school and didn't get the best mark, but Mum managed to get me into New England, UNE there, and I was just doing straight science, and the I was going to get moved into rural science, or maybe work my way into possibly vet or something like that. But just the straight science was probably killed me. A bit too much for me. And up at there, it was good times up at UNE. Probably too good, football and the good times, especially the first year. And I probably didn't handle I just wanted to get back out in the country. I just had that at heart. So that was my short stint. I think I just finished the footy season and then I got going. I pulled up stumps, but I think I just I didn't tell Mum and Dad when I was when I pulled up. I just turned up at home and
surprise
through the door, and Dad was like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I quit uni and that's it. And he's like, oh, righto, you better get to work then. That was my uni stint. I stuck out ag college, but uni didn't work out for me.
And where'd you go to ag college at?
I went down to Marcus Oldham down at Geelong, and they had a really good program down there, and I did the 3-year course.
Mm-hmm.
Down there, which was great.
Which that's pretty much like uni, though, isn't it? You come out with a bachelor anyway.
Yeah, they do now. If you do, like I did the 3 years, so you, at the time you came out with a diploma.
Yeah.
And if you did the 4th year, you got the degree. I'm not sure what they're doing now, but it was good. And good fun too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say it's almost UNE in a different area, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I'm not sure what it's like now, but we you can imagine we had a few wild nights back then. I'm sure
it's still like that.
Plenty of people that have been to Marcus or even mates of people that have been down there have probably been invited and had a good time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you went jackarooing, did you have dogs with you then, or?
Yeah. When I went jackarooing into the Channel Country, I stole one of Dad's dogs, and then he lined me up with a bitch from Mary McCrabb, actually. And another crazy story. I'll probably just bringing up all these crazy stories,
That's
but
right.
so he got this bitch off Mary, and I think I'd only had her for 3 weeks, and we're out pulling a ball, and I just had her sort of hanging around, and she had a lot of eye, and very like sticky eye, and I reckon like sheep that were hanging around, she might have just sort of got on them. Might have been less than 3 weeks actually, but she must have just sort of followed them off a bit and sort of was, stalking them, and she wasn't quite used to me. So when it came to finishing the ball, like I couldn't find her, and I couldn't call her, and we were out like a fair way out, like it was. I think Mount Margaret might have been 1.4 million acres or something like that.
Yeah, wow.
So we're out the back, out the sticks. It might have been a paddock that might have been 110,000 acres or something. And we're out the back with the ball, and I couldn't find this dog. I couldn't whistle it, and like the crew at the time, I'm not sure whether the overseer was out there, like gave me plenty of time to look, and I couldn't find her. So I literally only had her for a couple of weeks. It might have been 3 weeks, might have been less. And Dad had bought this bitch, I think, and lost her. So I think I might have got out there and tried to find her again and couldn't. It wasn't until 5 weeks later, we were out there mustering, and we had the whole crew like underneath the plane and everyone, and this bloke called up on the radio, and he's like, I've got this black dog circling me. He's like mustering around, and the dog wasn't getting close. It's just circling him. And obviously it probably looked a bit bigger than what it was. It was only a little small thing, but anyway, he coached it in and got it, and it was this bitch that I got off Mary. So 5 weeks later, you can imagine she was pretty skinny, but she would have been doing things out there to survive, I'd say, because down the track we had a few issues, with sheep. I think she learned how to survive. Out there, and sort of just went back to being a little bit wild, which is fair enough. I guess she wasn't sort of going to live on mulga leaves.
That's right. It's amazing how quick they can adapt, right? Like in different circumstances as well.
What's that, sorry?
It's amazing how quick they can adapt. Like, actually, there was just a sausage dog caught on Kangaroo Island, missing for 530 odd days or something.
Yeah, it was like 15 or 18 months or something.
Yeah, that's crazy.
A sausage dog, like, what's he
On
going to
Kangaroo
do?
Island.
It would have been crawling down the rabbit holes, wouldn't it? Like
Valerie.
rabbits.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there's probably no rabbits over on Kangaroo Island anyway.
I know. Well, there shouldn't have been cats, because I know a couple of guys that done the cat jobs. There shouldn't have been rabbits there either. So interesting.
The owners, they would have been pretty happy to see that little
Tickled pink, probably.
little dog. Yeah, like anyway, this bitch, she was that Riverina, you could drive, for miles. Like one of my jobs, don't know whether it's because they didn't like me, but stuck me out the back. No, it was actually I loved like I really wanted to, be that person that was called upon to do the mustering, and I got this one job where one of the boars was playing up, and sheep kept drawing out there, and so I had to sort of go out there every second or third day and drove them back over the ridge. And it was probably, I don't know, like it was a pretty big paddock, so it would have been a 20 kilometre, run or something like that. And she was just awesome. You'd grab the mob, and she'd just sort of crab along on that right spot, and you just set the mob up, and they just drove really well. So she was awesome like that. Probably not so much a yard dog or anything like that, just more of a paddock dog, yeah.
And then spending some time out there on that kind of country, like obviously there's a big shift somewhere when you come back home, right?
Yeah, yeah. I loved it out there. I probably looking back, I would have liked to have chased a bit more cattle work. Um, like we had a bit of cattle work, but nothing like some of those bigger stations. I think I think Mount Margaret actually now is more cattle, but at the time I think we had 55,000 sheep or something, and might have been, I could be wrong, but it might have been 1,700 breeders or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, um, so it was great for that experience and just learning how to muster with the sun, using the sun and stuff like that. So then coming back onto the flat country, like it was pretty good when I came home into the river, back into the Riverina onto the Hay Plains. We hadn't so we got Numby in. Dad and Mum got it in 99, 98, 99, I think. But I wasn't doing too much up there at the time.
Yep.
Wasn't until after ag college.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, I tell a lie. When we first bought Numby, I spent a couple of months on the horse. Might have been, whenever that was, or 6 weeks or something like that on the horse. When we first bought Numby, it didn't have too many tracks and stuff like that, so a lot was done on horses. There and Mount Margaret, we did a little bit with the horses, but not too much. So it was good. Good for that experience. Out there, I loved it. Out there, but you can imagine those big spaces. You're sort of on big, dirt bikes, and to take a dog around with you wasn't the easiest thing sometimes. But there was like our overseer at the time, Damien. Yeah, he had some nice kelpies. And like he had more of a team of dogs, and where everyone else had maybe one or two dogs. Yeah.
You just mentioned like mustering off the sun. What do you mean by that? How does that work?
Just just using your sun for direction. I remember when I first got up there, it got me. It got me probably, like, it might have been the first or second time, and then I really stuck to the sun. But the first time, I was just chasing the plane or chasing the stock, around. You just lost your bearings, and I think it might have been an overcast day or something. I feel like I didn't get lost, but I think I might have. Usually, Lobby, the manager, he'd be up in the plane, and he might tell you to go back in the opposite direction or something like that. But I don't think it was too bad. But I got close, and I'm like, no, like you're always lining up the sun and something out in the distance, like a hill or a tree or something, and just always having the sun there for direction for your east and west, then working your north and south out, but just always conscious of where it was. And you needed to know the time. I might be mumbling on a bit there, but to get your bearings right. I think it's a little bit different. It was a little bit different coming back into the Riverina, and then different again at Numby, like using the sun. Sometimes I use the sun as a reference on Numby, and it just bamboozles some people. Some people like it, some people don't. you can imagine in the hills, sometimes you can't see the sun, and because you're down in a gully or something like that. If you lose your bearings, you can't pick the sun up, or or it's overcast in the hills because it rains a little bit more in the hills than the flat country. But I really enjoyed that.
Easy to get lost in 1.4 million acres and no Google Maps.
Yeah, back in the day, we I don't think I had a mobile phone. I don't think I got a mobile phone till I was 21 or something like that. And it didn't have what were they, the old Nokias?
Yeah, 5110s.
Yeah, something like that. So like it was just old school UHF and using the sun and keeping an eye on that plane.
So when did your selection of dogs shift? The way you selected dogs?
Yeah, I think when you're young and you're just given dogs and you don't really know any better. I know, like Damien at the time, like he had a nice line of black and tan kelpies, so I was like all I thought about was kelpies really. The manager at the time, he had a collie that was pretty handy, but I might add a screw loose as well. But I think it used to like try and eat the chainsaw or something. All the motorbikes, yeah, that's right. And so I wasn't really looking at collies then. And then, went to WA and was still on the kelpies then. And not really sort of focusing on any sort of type or bloodlines or anything. Like I really liked, and respected Mary's line, Avonpart. But yeah, look, didn't wasn't really, just young and just getting any dog I could and training and didn't really care too much. It wasn't until I sort of got back to Numby and got into more cattle too, probably, was when I started to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then that's sort of when I started to get into more collies. Change then, I guess. That's when I probably started to change, and still chasing pretty good, decent enough kelpie lines. Like I got a cracking kelpie from Kevin, Karana.
Yeah.
I got red and tan actually, and loved him. He's been one of my best dogs. So that's when I started getting into bloodlines and stuff like that a bit. Yeah, so that would have been, that would have been 2005, 2006 or something like that. When I started thinking, play around with it a bit more. Yeah.
And was there someone that helped influence you, or was it something that you identified and went, okay, I'm going to sort after this type of dog and chase different lines?
Originally, I thought about it. I'm probably going to put him on the spot, but I was going to dive him in anyway for a chat. But my best mate Ed McFarlane, we were sort of doing contracting together, and he was probably just as much an influence on the direction that I was looking. We used to just bounce ideas off each other. There wasn't really a mentor, like Steve's dogs, like Kevin. I didn't really have a mentor as such, I suppose, to sort of guide me, other than my best mate. And we were sort of, on a journey, I guess, to find better dogs. Sorry, I keep knocking the pillow. I'm probably
You're all right.
I've got you on a couple of pillows, but I thought about that, like whether I, because everyone, like a few people have had a mentor, like the old man sort of might have been okay when he was younger, but then once he got a bit of age and whatnot, he's just a rough old cocky, with a dog that took 5 years to train.
Was, I guess, for those that don't know Numby, do you want to sort of tell us a little bit about, where it is and the terrain?
Yeah, so people might know Cowra and Burua, and it's hilly. I guess from Cowra, back east, it's not until the best way to describe Numby is it sort of goes from that undulating and then lifts up onto the Crookwell heights, and it's sort of where the country lifts there on the Lachlan River. So we're above Wyangla there, so we're unregulated. So the river's temperamental, like it's up and down. It does what it wants to do. But yeah, like Numby, I guess Numby's it's more like New Zealand than it is Australia, I guess.
Yeah.
But like Numby probably wouldn't be, like there's bigger places over in New Zealand and steeper and all that sort of stuff. I guess Numby's just got a good range of, like it's got a little bit of scrub, plenty of creeks and some good sized paddocks, to test you out. I guess that's why Numby's, known for that dog country.
Yeah, definitely.
Or horse country, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that part of the reason you went from the Kelpies to the Collies?
I reckon the main, like at the time, we were getting we had a lot more cattle, and I was sort of looking around, and this is no disrespect to like any Kelpie person or anything like that. I just found that like most teams, or people had like a couple of good Kelpies on cattle, but not a whole team, I guess at the time, and the people that I'd gone and seen. So it wasn't until I think I was spending a bit of time with Angus Waddell and the family and doing a few schools and a bloke who or would have heard of, Alan Munns. His name kept popping up, and a lot of like a bit of his breeding in some of the dogs that I was seeing that I liked, and so then I'm like, I've got to go and catch up with this bloke. And when I got there, all of the dogs that I saw, I'd take home. So, like that whole team. So that was enough to convince me, like I'm gonna stick with it and go down this line of collies and he was, from then on, like Alan was pretty influential for me, and I learned a heap from Munsey.
Yeah.
And he set me up with some cracking collies as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've obviously got your own line these days, but do you still find you base a lot of your genetics and dogs around his lines, or is it sort of evolved from there?
Yeah. I'd like to think, because I had a lot of respect for what he did. He chased certain bloodlines and then worked on his line, and like to think that I've worked on my line and developed my line. I've had a couple of bad runs, a few hiccups along the way where I've lost like a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
Like in but I managed to just hang on and get back to where I was. But yeah, look, there's still a lot of things that I learned from Munzie, and the type of dog that sort of he liked and whatnot is still bears a lot of weight with my selection and things like that. Yeah.
Just want to touch on when you say lost a few dogs, they were accidents on farm too, right? Like,
yeah. I had a shocking one. Actually, Jake was with me that day, and I was trying so hard not to be emotional, but I'd sort of worked my way up to having a really good team and sold a lot of maybe sisters to the bitches that I had, and I really was focusing on my females, on my bitches, and because one thing that Munzie sort of really pushed, and at the time a lot of people might have been focusing a little bit more on size and the dogs, but to focus more on the bitches and they were your backbone of your breeding, like so I mainly had bitches then, and I was, I don't know, full of myself, not full of myself, but like just really confident in where I was going and the team that I had. I had like really strong bitches, and they were young. I hadn't bred from them that much either. Anyway, one day I think it was we might have had our first child, and I was on zero sleep and had to go away, and so I chucked all the good dogs on the back, and sure enough, the ute got away on me up in the hills and rolled down and took took my whole line out within a couple of seconds, and Jake had to come down the gully and help me carry him out. Like, it was pretty
awful,
pretty ordinary. Yeah. So I thought, once that happened, like you do a bit of soul searching, and it took me a while to get up and running, and be happy, probably with the dogs. It would have taken 2 or 3 years, because it probably took 2 or 3 years, 3 or 4 years to get there. So it's probably pretty hard on myself, but looking back, it took 2 or 3 years to get going again, and I thought, well, maybe that's not too bad. And you sort of wonder whether it was a fluke as well. So you're second guessing yourself and doubting yourself, and you're wondering whether you're going to get that team back. So to have a big hit, you hear of people having, losing one good dog or something like that. But I lost 4 really good bitches, and one of them wasn't mine, but she was a cracker as well. So it was pretty ordinary at the time.
No, absolutely, man. So I'm assuming you still got a bit of a UK influence in your dogs?
Yeah. So I guess on that UK side of things, I really wanted to. I just felt like they were going to suit what I wanted in the hills: big cast, direct, good driving, especially on cattle. So the UK influence, it worked pretty well for me at the time. At the moment, I've probably, I'll probably thrown back to a bit of Aussie stuff, but I've tried some New Zealand lines out, Kerry Lewis, and I'll just try and develop my breed a bit. I'll work a bit of maybe American stuff in as well, but just always just trying to tweak it.
Dogs everywhere here, mate. That's one of mine. That's my Malinois. She's a bit upset at the moment.
Yeah.
So you explained Numby a bit like New Zealand before. Why'd you go the UK stuff instead of going straight to New Zealand?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think at the time Alan was probably, like he was big on the UK stuff. I think I think at the time, like you could probably access a bit more like video of the UK dogs. You probably
Yep.
even now looking like for New Zealand stuff, it's hard to
It is, isn't it?
actually see videos of New Zealand stuff, and I think I think you know they handle cattle a lot over there, but I wasn't sort of. Oh yeah, like it was just a bit of an unknown, I guess. Yeah, it's a good question because yeah, New Zealand's a lot like Numby. Well, why not? Um,
But I think you answered that by saying like when you first were swapping to him and you followed Alan's lines and he was using that, so that's it makes sense as to why you went there. So
yeah, and stick to type.
Yeah.
And I don't think at the time he wasn't steering me away from it, but he wasn't steering me, towards
was it?
Yeah.
New Zealand, I guess. I think Angus Waddell, he tried a bit of New Zealand stuff out at one stage, like a massive big dog off Bernard Aaron's.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right? At the time. Yeah, so there was a bit of New Zealand stuff coming in, and there would have been other people with a bit of New Zealand stuff. Yeah.
While we're talking about a bit of the Kiwi stuff, mate, you've got a couple Hunaways as well.
Yeah. I love my Hunaways at the moment.
I love the way your face was lit up straight away.
Yeah. Yeah, got asked a question there the other day. Probably dived him in too much, but about whether I'd actually, if I had to make one choice, a Hunterway or the Collies, at the moment, what would I take? And I only could have one dog, and yeah, I've got a huge respect and interest in Hunterways at the moment. So as much as I love my Collies, yeah, I find that I'm using the Hunterways more and more on sheep. Yeah, yards and in the paddock, just the effect that they have. Yeah, like knowing where I am now, like I can't believe it's taken me this long to sort of get into them.
And what's one of the main attractions? Is it the donk in them, like just the drive?
Oh yeah, that I guess what convinced me, I knew about them, but when Jake came back from New Zealand, I'd seen a bit, and he was like, "Dave, yeah, you got to give one of these Hunaways a go. You got to give." So, what convinced me, I said, "Oh, come over and do some mustering, and I'm just going to leave my dogs at home. I'm going to chauffeur you around." Yeah, and he had this dog called, you might have seen or heard, Poi, and yeah, and she just went a huge distance, but just the effect that she had on the mob, like they've just got a really good effect from distance, and if you get it right, and I just was just wow, and then she was a long way away, and then I remember him giving her the call off whistle, and I thought, oh, far out, we're gonna have to light a fire and have a barbecue. And by the time she was going to get back to us, and sure enough, like the recall on him was unreal, and on Poi, like just something simple like that was pretty cool. And then Jake was always like they got massive big motors. And yeah, so I got a Hunterway off Jake. I got a pup, Billy, who you've met, she's got now. Um, she's fixing up all the mistakes I made on her. But I got a bitch called Sky, and yeah, anyone that was, working with me at the time just knows how much work she did, and yeah, the motor that she had, yeah, it was just unreal. It just blew me away. The work that they've got in them. They're totally different beasts, and I think Aussies, haven't quite got their head around it like New Zealanders do. Like New Zealanders have grown up with them, and they've been in the country for and they've developed them for I don't know 100 years or whatever it is. Um, so they've just got so much knowledge and confidence in what they're doing on the hunterways. Like I think I've got a lot to learn still, but it's exciting. Like it's something different. Compared to the collies. Like like I love my kelpies, and then I love my collies, and now I love my hunterways.
Bring back the roll.
Yeah. Well, yeah, get into training. Well, I actually saw you with you got a couple of those big mad hounds, don't you? Like
The Malamars.
what are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one upset outside at the moment.
Yeah, I thought my sister's got one of those, not a German Shepherd.
Yeah, Belgian Malamar. Yeah.
And it's it's a big unit, and different. So I felt I wouldn't mind having a crack at like that one day, but I'll just stick to the hunterways and collies at the moment. I wouldn't mind going back to a good kelpie as well, but I guess that you can get spread out a bit, and I guess if you're breeding, it just gets a little bit complicated if you got too many breeds in there. So the hunterway has made up, for not having a kelpie, I guess, especially with all the sheep work that I've got now, because my collies I focused a lot on the cattle work. Yeah, originally.
Mate, that said, and like the country you're working on, like, what would your team of dogs look like at present?
Oh, so yeah, half collies, half hunterways. You don't want too many hunterways in your team. They're full on, and they're just I don't know. I think I don't know whether I've used it, but they're like just a big V8 donk just sitting next to you, just humming, just humming away. And then you put the gas on and they light up, like make a heap of, they're just raring to go all the time. So they can do your head in a little bit with their energy and the noise. They're just the little noises that they make. So yeah, look, what have I got? Billy's got another older one, but yeah, I've got 2 older ones and 2 younger ones in training and a pup.
Yep,
hunterways, and then the rest collies. Too many collies.
And you mentioned training there. Like, what's training look like to you? Like, are you setting time aside for your pups, or do you bit on the job? Like, how do you try and nurture and bring them along?
I guess I'm probably flirting with being like a typical cocky. Starts off strong, and then you have a family and business, and you get a bit relaxed on the training side of things. So I wouldn't say that I'm the best trainer. And Jake's always into me to do more, and I see the benefit for that. And I guess our country, like, you still got to have a fair bit of skill and training, on your dogs if you want to achieve or have an and enjoy
Yeah.
all day.
It can turn a ship pretty
In
quickly,
the
right?
hills, I guess. Yeah. So I'll always do a bit of training, but I guess I'm a bit relaxed on that. So look to a little pup. You want to see it sign on. So you got to show it a bit. Like I think you can get into trouble, which I have if you're not doing enough with them, especially the collies. They can just not sign on properly, and then they can sort of gradually go off a little bit if you're not giving them stimulation. So on the cattle, I'm a bit steady on the cattle. I like to bring them on and teach them their skills on sheep, but I want to know that I'm going to hang on to a strong cattle dog. So I'll put them on certain stages. Like I might be sort of not 6 months, but a bit older, 9 or 10 months, and then 12 months on cattle, and just see what they've got in them, and if they've got plenty of power and grunt, I'll just put them onto sheep and just make them into a nice dog from then on. Look, like I'd like to say that I had them trained by a 2-year-old. I'd love to do more earlier, but yeah, I'm a little bit relaxed on it, and I think it's a negative and a positive thing. Sometimes, you don't get them hurt, especially on cattle. But it's just like you could. It just depends on the dog. You can bring them on a lot faster. I think I'm just a little bit relaxed, in my stage at the moment, to where I'm at. But definitely want to see, some, some good things in them young. Like I don't want to hang on to them for too long if they don't have those things. Yeah. And, like I have trust and confidence in the ones that I select. So that's probably what makes me a little bit more relaxed too. Like I know that they're sort of going to come through towards the end, but yeah, look, I don't think it's a good thing being like, I think I'm a little bit too slow bringing them on, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think I'd always recommend doing more training, and I'm a big believer that in command over instinct. I just think that in our country, we need to be able to redirect the dog, if that makes sense. You want the natural stuff in them, but I just say, and I think command over instinct is something that maybe Greg Prince might have used, with what I could be wrong there, but I think that's something that he might have said. And yeah, it rings true for me because, you might want to redirect and go up another spur or head towards another gate or put a mob together. So you need to be able to turn that natural dog around and drive them somewhere else. So, but then you want that natural dog to be able to do it without command, and to tail, uncommanded. So,
you
am I
are.
making any sense?
How do you go?
So
Sorry, you're right.
So basically on number, you want it all. you want you want to be able to redirect. You want to be able to put the dog where you need to get it, and you need to be able to ask your dog to all the bells and whistles. That's the beauty of the place.
Would
I guess.
mind be one of your biggest attributes in a dog you're looking for? Like a solid mind. Like, it's got to be athletic and all not natural, but for what the work you're describing, like, you need a really solid mind of dog as well.
Yeah, for sure. you know, like I can deal with soft-minded dogs and I can bring them through, but it's something that doesn't, you know, like I don't want to be breeding it, and I'm probably, it doesn't suit my character, I guess. Like I want that sort of strong-minded dog that, you know, has got that mongrel to do big days. Yeah, like they might be tired and they've got you know, they've got cows and calves going up a gully, and they've got to have that strong mind to stand up to, you know, stand up to that.
But also,
Yeah, they just,
solid enough. But also solid
Pardon?
enough to let you in as well.
Yeah, yeah, and then solid enough to put up with me. I'm Crawford. We've got Irish, so they're going to be able to handle us. But um, um, yeah, look, I reckon, and you would have heard it, and the chat. You know, like I think Australia, like there's all different, you know, demands for dogs. You know, whether it's a natural or you know, like whether it's a sheep dog or, you know, yard dog or you know, you know, this and that. So you want that strong-minded dog, the smart, strong-minded dog that can, you know, change on the run, I guess. And yeah, you can put anything on them, and ask them to do anything. Yeah, so I guess I feel like as long as I'm in this country on Numby, you know, hopefully it probably won't happen until I'm 70 or 80. Um, you know, and I might be able to breed a decent dog that that's smart enough to handle everyone, I guess. And all kinds of different conditions.
It's the dream,
Yeah,
isn't it?
um, yeah. But yeah, look, I do like my best dogs have been really good in the
Yeah.
mind.
And how are you selecting
Without
those
a
dogs
doubt.
as pups? Like, have you got little things you're looking for?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about it there. One of my best first dogs, she would have been about third, a bitch called Rev, and I remember mum and dad telling me I could have her because they thought she was deaf.
She was arrogant.
Yeah. Just strong in the mind, off doing her own thing. So you know, like that, I remember that, and and we just clicked straight away. You know, like I took her over to WA, and just clicked. You know, like I didn't know anything about training, but for some reason I went out and found a mob, straight up early days, and just had the bug for training. Didn't know what I was doing, and just put her around it, and she sort of balanced up, like, you know, was just working the mob, and I went from there. We just clicked, and but she was strong in the mind. She'd annoy other people, not because she was doing a poor job, but just because she was very dominant. She used to, you know, give dogs a towel up, you know, like she liked being the dog that got the job done, and she could do it, you know. So yeah, like, you know, pups. I like a bold, strong pup. You know, that's one of the things I look for. And then I've always got a sort of I might pick a random pup that's just got a little bit of X factor or something like that, like old Rev, off doing their own thing or something like that. But basically, yeah, just a bold, confident, good type pup, basically, and just gut. You know, like I don't know whether you come across people, but sometimes it's just gut. Like it's just your gut feel, and if you go with that and you get it wrong, you learn, or you get unconfident, I guess, and so you got to back yourself. You with that, I tell people sometimes, if you can go with your gut feeling, if you're wrong, you learn pretty quickly.
Are there any attributes you'd love
Yeah.
to put into your current line?
Look, I went for some New Zealand lines just for a little bit more athleticism, bigger types, faster. I felt like maybe my line was getting fairly heavy, like Butch and Chuck. Some of the dogs I've got, like they're fairly heavy boned and heavy set. So yeah, look, I have looked to New Zealand because when you see some of those dogs running around, they motor up hills,
Yeah.
and they got good stamina. So yeah, I've looked to that a bit, and sort of maybe one of the criticisms of the UK sort of dogs is that they're over in cold conditions and cold and wet, and they're not doing the big stuff. But it always comes down to the heart of the dog, you get that good line, or you get that dog that's got a big heart and they overcome a lot. Where they might have pink pads, on their feet, and they're as tough as anything. And I've taken a woolly collie out to 50-degree heat down at dad's, dad and mum's, and they haven't had any issues. Grass seeds, like it. Like it depends on your lines and the heart in the dog. Yeah.
And you mentioned before, like the dogs, you try and keep something that's going to work well on cattle, and you're trying to pick that early. Are there any attributes there that when they're like that 6, 9, 12 months old that you're going, yeah, you're ticking the boxes?
Yeah. On the cattle, like I like to see that come forward and no hesitation. Like I always question the bite. I do like to see it, I guess. But I guess I'm questioning myself now because I've got so many sheep with the bite. But yeah, I just want to see. I want to see a calm dog in the high pressure situations, and I reckon a good indication on if the dog's going to be good on cattle without being put on cattle is rams. I reckon rams can sort dogs out pretty quickly. So sometimes, if you don't have any cattle around, you put them on rams, and if they handle rams pretty well, it's a good indication that they're going to be pretty good on cattle. But yeah, look, I do like to see that nice calm tail set, and I do like to see a bit of bite, and on the cattle, I do like a strong dog. So yeah, sometimes they're pretty hard on the cattle, which you like to see, but then you put them away because they're silly. They're going to go underneath and get turkey-rolled or break a leg or something like that. So you put them away, but that can be a risk too because they don't learn to adjust their bite. They don't learn to get to the side. When you bring them out later, they're just gung ho and they come in, bad positions, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
Does that make sense? So it's a balancing act, on that cattle. But I guess I've thought about it a lot. Like I don't think I'll budge. I love a good, strong dog. Like I just, when you see that border collie or any dog or kelpie, they're 20 kilos up against a 500, 600, 700 cow coming out of them. Like there's nothing more. Like there's nothing more than I respect than that. It's like David versus Goliath, you know, like and bulls, you know, bulls. And if I just have sheep for the rest of my life, I still want to see that strength. Yeah, like I don't think I'll rest my laurels on that. Hopefully, I can develop a dog that's smart enough to know when to bite. I think that's the ultimate, isn't it? If the dog doesn't have to bite and just does it with presence and whatnot, then that'd be great. But I want that dog to be able to protect themselves and put the fear back into that cow. Fear is probably a strong word. You know,
you want it to gamble. You want it to gamble.
Hey?
Like, do I really want to get involved here, or should I shoot off the dog?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, like I don't want the stock to, you know, like I don't want them behaving on fear. I want them to be happy and confident and calm. But yeah, I just want that, you know, I want that V8, you know, just purring away in my collies, ready to roar if it has to, you know, like not roar, not bark.
We know what you mean.
But get on things like, yeah. I've had some unreal sort of strong dogs that have done some amazing sort of stuff on cattle. Yeah, and because I'm not good with the phone and things like that, it, you know, like would have been good to maybe capture, but I haven't done that. It's all in the memory bank. You'll have to trust me.
Obviously you're not someone that likes bark on cattle.
Yeah, well, I guess you guys looking at me now, I was one of those people in that paradigm, I guess, that, yeah, hated bark on cattle. Hated might be a bit strong, but I was definitely steering away from it on cattle, especially cows and calves. Like I think it's all right on dry cattle. And look, I've had this conversation with a few people, and even seen a lot of, you know, back in the day, those group chats or whatever they were. And I actually think tail end bark going up steep stuff is actually really effective. I used to take my 3-legged Kelpie Karana dog. He was pretty busted, but I used to take him out with me, and you know, when that big mob of cattle going straight up a hill, especially Angus cattle, didn't like going straight up a hill. I'd get the Kelpie out, and he was a strong Kelpie, but I'd ask him to bark up to just get a bit of movement, because bite will only affect the tail end and it won't sort of affect the whole mob, especially when they're tired and they're stretched out. You know, bite will only shift the tail, and it won't shift the middle and the lead, if that makes sense. So that tail end bark, you know, would shift the whole mob, especially if you had them broken in really well. So at the time, I probably wouldn't have told too many people that. But and that Kelpie, he was tough. He's named Tough, and he's tough by nature. So going back to that paradigm that I was in, and now to go into Hunterways, where they're just all bark, like, you know, and for me, you know, like all the cattle people that might have, you know, or that know me, and here I am, like, talking to Jake about, you know, the difference in the bark and the Hunterways, and how much, you know, like what to look for and what not. So it's funny how it's I've evolved and gone back on my laurels, I suppose, on my moral, rested on my laurels, So, yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Do you work your Hunterways on cattle at all?
I haven't really. We sort of haven't had a huge amount of cattle on, so I haven't been able to test it. too much.
That's
But
cool.
the times I have, it sort of went a little bit pear-shaped with cows and calves. I was probably a bit too close and too tight, and I should have been back, like using them from a distance, I think. So to answer the question, yeah, look, I'm not really confident in using the Hunaways on cattle.
Yeah, that's cool.
And don't look forward to it.
Mate, without going too far back, I just wanted to highlight something you said that was I've got a lot of respect. I'm very similar to you there, where you talked about, you know, a 20, 25 kilo dog and half a ton beast, and the heroism in these dogs to hold their ground and move forward. But earlier you mentioned about your sister's Belgian Malinois, and you mentioned like with my own as well. Like when people talk about, oh, a dog's a machine, you're talking about like a 30-kilo dog taking on an 80 or 90-kilo bloke in a bite suit, and they go, oh, that dog's a weapon. And I always turn around and I say, well, what about the 20-kilo Kelpie or Collie that's taking on a half a ton beast? To me, that's a weapon. Like, that's a machine. You know, and coming straight at it, not like, oh, as it comes, I'm going to swing my arm sideways. Like, I'm running straight at you. I'm just really glad that you highlighted just how heroic our stock dogs are.
And I think that's the appealing thing for all us dog mad lovers, isn't it? Like the dogs, as opposed to maybe, a cat. The dogs don't ask for much, do they? And they do so much for us out of loyalty. And when you see that, some of the things like that I've seen, like old Peg. A lot of people remember like a certain photo of Peg getting swung up in the air from that first USD, I think it might have been, but she'd do that, she'd do that. Like I'll tell you a story. Like I had a bit of trouble. We took a big mob up some steep stuff, and they got around a bit on the contour, and they're a little bit weak, and it actually got that steep that a few rolled down the hill. Yeah, it got a little bit pear-shaped. Like I probably shouldn't have been in that situation, I guess. It's a learning curve, just that. But I remember one heifer like rolled into a blackberry, and it sort of was clear in the center, but it sort of rolled through and then couldn't find its way out of the blackberry. And I remember old Peg, I sent 3 dogs down. I'm like, how am I going to get, like, I wasn't going to like crawl through the blackberry and then muck around with this heifer to get it out. And it might have been a few days after it, I come back up looking to make sure that nothing was still there. And I found this heifer. And so anyway, I'm jumping around a little bit, but yeah, so I came with, I think it might have been Peg and Bell, and I can't remember what the third dog was off the top of my head, but send them down there, and yeah, this heifer wasn't happy, as you can imagine, was a bit thirsty, and had eaten all the grass in the centre. It was only a little sort of, 3 diameter circle type thing. And it was having a go at the dogs, and Peg was sort of sitting back a bit, and then I'm like, oh, these dogs are going to like have to try and hunt it through, and she was pretty stirred up, this heifer, and I just remember Peg just decided to do it, and she just walked in nice and calmly and got hold of it, got swung everywhere, and bashed on the ground. still had hold of this heifer, and then she let it go, and it just went more, and then bolted through the blackberry and away from Peg. And she just had like a lot of there's a few other stories like that where she'd just do something crazy like that, but be calm about it, and then let the heifer go. and got that heifer out of the Blackberry. I don't know how I was going to get out. I'd have to get a bulldozer in to, push the track in and then push through the bulldozer, or get a hedge trimmer or something, and hope that the heifer didn't run over me once I come through with a hedge trimmer or something like that. But just stories like that. And I reckon anyone else that's got those strong dogs, when they see something like that, that 20-kilo dog just doing something like that, it's just unreal. And it's, just that dog doing that for you. It pulls the heartstrings, really. You're really proud moments. And that's what dogs are like. They give you everything, don't they? And they're very loyal, and that's why you guys love them. That's why everyone else probably watching this show, they love it, don't they? They love the dogs, as opposed to a cat. We've had a couple of good cats over the time, but because there's so many dogs, we don't have too many cats. But the cat only wants to love you when they
that's right, mate. For someone that has like such a rounded pack and such a lot of different variety in work, have you done much trialing with your dogs? I know you just mentioned I'm going to say UFC then, the USD.
Yeah, I might have said UFC, but USD. It's a bit, it's a bit like that. Some of that battle, like when I first decided, I think it was because of the USD. The first year, I'm like, I'm going to do this USD, and then I'm like, I better get out there and do some yard dog trials and 3 sheep and cattle, and I just threw myself in the deep end really quickly. So that first sort of 12 months, like I can't remember when it was. I did a few trials. Like I would have done maybe 5 or 6 maybe of each discipline, I guess, and then I slowed down a lot after that and just did mainly cattle dogs, and then I slowed down a lot once I lost my those bitches. Like Peg was one. She was 5-year-old. Dot. Dot was the other bitch in there with Belle. Yeah, Dot was a cracker. So she, I lost all of those bitches, and so that took the wind out of my sails.
For someone that has had such a variety of different work, when you did toy around with those trials, was there any takeaways for you?
Oh, definitely. Look, I reckon I would have been one of those, farmers that said trialing was easy, maybe, and that you didn't need to, have all that handle. And you might have heard this before, but trialing's definitely helped my skill level, and then it's helped on the farm, because you need that bit of handle on the dog. Like if you've got to get 3 sheep through a hole in the fence, there's your 3 sheep trial. And just steering around the hill. So I think I was a little bit hesitant at the time, but trialing's definitely been really good for me, and I'm glad I did it. Does that answer the question? Or
No, you're all over it, mate. Yeah, all over it, mate. And you mentioned Billy there a little bit earlier in the conversation, and Billy obviously works with you there, mate. And there's been a few young people come through. Like when somebody hits you up to do a bit of work there, or maybe get some experience, like what qualities are you looking for in these young people to give them a go?
I think they just got to want to get better. That's a big one. They got to love the dogs. Like you get people, and there's no disrespect to anyone that's been on Numby or anything like that, but you get people that are they love their dogs, but yeah, like you almost got to have a a screw loose, wanting to train more and to get better. So I think everyone gets better with their dogs. Their dogs get better. But yeah, there's definitely a difference in some people. Just that want, that drive to get better dogs, is the difference. So, like, yeah, you you just got to be prepared, prepared to push your dogs along a bit, to train. I guess when you come onto Numby, you can be thrown in the deep end, I guess, at Numby. And I guess a lot of people have, including myself, that if you haven't got your dog right, if your dog's not thinking well enough for itself, or if you haven't trained it, it's just a whole lot of hurt, world of hurt. Like you've got to go down and pick that sheep up and carry it back up, or the cattle get away, and it's sort of what might have been a 5-minute job turns into a 2-hour job. A 2-hour job, So any young person, they just got to have a passion. But like anything, people will just be a little bit more natural at it than others, and some will just want to work harder than the natural people, and they get there because they work harder. So look, we've had a whole range of people come on, like backpackers, people from Estonia, from everywhere, French, German. So we've had a whole range of people come on. Maybe the backpackers haven't got into the dogs as such, but I think everyone's got something out of coming on to Numby, whether it's a short stint or a long stint. And look, Billy's on at the moment. We had a young crew, from South Australia, and they might be watching, and hopefully they got something out of, being on Numby. I'm definitely believe that they improved, their skills improved on the dogs, and I think they would have got a lot out of it. Look, Billy's going really well. You've met, and really pushing hard in the trials, and you do like to see that, and it's good, for me. You get a bit of motivation out of younger people, being enthusiastic about training. Keeps you on your toes.
Absolutely. Hey, talking about keeping people on their toes, is there anyone you'd like us to see us sit down and have a chat with?
I got a dog my mate, good mate, Ed McFarlane. He's my best man at my wedding, and I've definitely got a dog in a bloke. Obviously you're trying to track him down, like Alan Munns. A bloke that I'm dealing with a little bit at the moment, Guy Morgan. He might be another good bloke to track down and get over.
Awesome, thanks, mate. Appreciate that. On the hit list.
Definitely. We always ask a bit of a different question at the end. If you could be any character in a movie, who would you be and why?
Oh, we haven't had this one, have we?
Oh, that's a good one. I thought it was going to be the horses or the ducks. Character.
Any
in a movie.
He's got the whole Wolverine thing going for the moment.
A recent movie. Oh, shivers.
It can be an old movie. It doesn't have to be recent.
It'd be it'd be good to be a little bit smarter. What's that? A character, like a cartoon character,
like
or
movie
any
character or anything.
Oh, what was that Ben Affleck, Matt Damon movie, and he was terribly smart, Matt Damon, and he was just hanging out with his mates. He was a bit smarter. Oh, what was it? I'm trying to remember the movie. Can you remember that movie? And with Robin Williams.
Yeah, was it The Accountant?
I thought it was the
No. Anyway, he was. It'd be good to be a bit smarter.
Ocean's 11. He was good and he was smart in that.
I can't remember. Not the Bourne Identity. Like he was quite smart, but yeah, this other one. He's a bit of a mathematician.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name of the
I
movie.
don't know the name of
But
it.
I do know what you're talking about.
Goodwill. Was it Goodwill
There
Hunting?
you go.
Goodwill Hunting.
That's not what I'm thinking
Yeah.
about. I know you're talking about.
Maybe
It was on
not.
Netflix.
Okay, there you go. So some bit of brains, mate. I don't think you're too far off it. I think you put a bit of effort into things you do. I don't think you're someone that just does things off the cuff. I think a lot of thought goes into it.
Cheers. Anyway, we can always do a few more brain cells.
Mate, really appreciate you making the time for us today. I know especially you're not at home and you're out. Hopefully you're not away from the missus too long and she's not too upset with you. We really appreciate you putting that time aside for us. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having us on. I hope I didn't ramble
Definitely
on too
not.
much.
No, it's been good.
No, mate, it was fantastic. And to everyone that's listening and everyone listening back, I hope you enjoyed it. And please remember, we learn every day, and the day we stop learning from each other will be a sad one. Thank you.
Thank you.